in game 1. We saw some SA picks picked up by LNG, I think particularly the Corki. Weirdly, the Ziggs, I think that's actually even quite high tier. And then the Nautilus as well, taken off the table. Very important. In this draft, though, Tristana will likely be that first pick. It was banned away in that first rotation by Rare Atom. On red side in game 1. Now on the other side, LNG not going to be going towards an AD mid laner. Instead, potentially going towards that Talia in the mid lane. I'd say, I mean, it is a flex between mid and jungle. I'd imagine it's going towards Scout, though. It does well enough into that Tristana. So that'll be the starting of proceedings. Is Xiao Hao now going to switch away towards one of those AP junglers? If you're locking in the Varus, you kind of need that AP damage elsewhere. You can't get that Rumble in towards the top side. If you lock in this Varus, you're assuming what? Karthus, you're assuming, and with the Ziggs band away, it's very hard to get that AP in the bot lane anyway. You're expecting Karthus, Lilia, Brand, something like that from Xiao Hao. It's away from the kind of the AD early game skirmishes that we typically see from him. And the problem with locking the Varus here is that, like, actually I do think that Varus is good versus the Senna, but the current meta is so much about finding magic damage somewhere in your kit that wonder if RA are going to get starved for options in that jungle. I would imagine that LNG will lock away some of those AP junglers in the second round bans now. I think that trying to adapt down to this meta has been quite difficult for some teams. On the whole, folks, I think the calling card of this meta is finding an AP carry somewhere. Now, in this game, because you've already locked mid and bot lane, you're kind of looking for that in jungle, because top lane has what, Mordekaiser and Rumble. Rumble's banned, so you're basically looking at jungle. And I think you're going to get double banned now. That's the Brand. Karthus probably going next.
You'd imagine so, especially with 4th pick available. LNG could also just pick an AP jungler here if the Talia is not going
Could
there.
also be the Lilia ban from Xiao Hao as well. Actually, think maybe Xiao Hao would rather have the Lilia because it's slightly more engage heavy. Karthus is much more about follow-up.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Of course, Karthus plus Tristana is still a good combo, right? Because it just enables Tristana's ability to jump forward that bit more. But we shall see. Some decisions to be made. Interesting, the Graves ban against Wayway. Of course, he is a big Graves player, so that's not a surprise on that front. But I think with the prevalence of AP carries rather than other kinds.
I am so surprised that's not another AP jungler ban from LNG. I mean, if you're banning away stuff like Graves, surely you think there's going to be a Karthus coming through, right?
Unless Wayway locks it now, but I think okay, we'll wait and see. It's just hovers for now, so we'll wait and see. Of course, Zucker at one point was a bit of a gangplank player, so a bit of a shout out. Instead, they go towards a Shinsao, wanting the front line and kind of early brawling.
I mean, they have the AP mid laner, so they don't have to go for the AP jungler themselves. They have magic damage somewhere in their kit. It also allows Zucker to get a counter pick in towards topside. Zucker was really handling Xiaoshu in the 1v1. I think that Xiaoshu, you know, I have a good opinion of this guy. I don't think he's had the best showing in summer so far in the first 2 series and then coming into this one as well. Now with the Cassante locked in, it is definitely answerable towards the top side of the map from Zucker, and Xiao Hao will have to see what AP damage threats he can have from that jungle, and it is that Lilia we suspected.
You reasoned that out well enough earlier in the draft. I think the additional options for the engage makes a lot of sense. And when you pair that up with things like the Nautilus and the Varus, your ability to land swells and stuff is just so much easier. As that is a last pick Bane.
It is! Okay, so, right, you see the Cassante, like, well, Zucker's gonna have last pick. What's he gonna do with that? Now, he sees that tanky top laner, and now R8, you have to imagine they want a lane swap. They have to lane swap to get away from this Vayne level 1. This is what happened at MSI. When you see that Vayne locked into a tank, you get away from that lane. So, all things said and done, you just have to now consider the fact that RA will try and lane swap, even though they have that very strong lane of the Varus and the Nautilus versus the Senna and the Ornn. I think that is a good lane for them. You need to see this Cassante survive somehow.
And the other side of this is a conversation we had yesterday, and it's a relatively nuanced conversation, but Senna in lane swaps can end up in awkward positions if she doesn't get access to souls and levels because of, you know, the way the lanes have ended up being so obtuse, I guess.
Right, so I'm going to have a little prediction here. Now, there is a Lilia and there's a Nautilus. That's a strong level 1, and if you're looking for a lane swap on blue side, you're going to run straight at enemy Raptors with your Lilia and your Nautilus, and you're going to a lane swap from that. So you're looking to steal enemy Raptors because Lilia is one of the best at taking them in the game. Going towards a lane swap, and then hopefully that means because Nautilus is already on top side there for that Raptor invade, you're probably going to see that. Anyway, folks, we're going to get into the game.
Oh, yes.
To hear how the crowds are feeling as well. We'll get through into that one as well. We'll pump up the volume, pump up the energy, and see if Rare Atom can strike back in this game too.
There's the skins. We don't get that in the other leagues right now. It's always nice to see the splash arts and the decisions made by various players and how they're going to style themselves on the Rift. I really like the call out there on that level 1. I think especially because before the series, one of the things you said you wanted to see from Rare Atom was an attempt to find somewhere to flip on the map. They didn't really find that last game, and actually as it stands, that's just a 5-man fan. I'm not seeing Invade right now.
Well, if they don't go for that level 1, I think they're utterly boned. Because if they end up putting this Vayne into a straight-up lane versus Xiaoxu with a jungler that can't go towards that lane, come on, this is the most sitting level 1 plan you can have. Jue is walking up into River. I really feel like they need to commit towards the lane swap. Just say, look, screw it. You're not going to have the Varus versus that, but you have to go towards it. They're now maybe going towards a level 1 late invade. They went out for that 5-man fan. They're clumping up. They're going for the level 1 Raptor invade. What did we say? It's the Lilia looking for the Raptor, the strong Nautilus level 1, and they're looking for the lane swap.
They had me in the first half, I'm not going to lie. But Jue and Xiaohao do what Alex said. It just took them a little longer than I thought it might. They are now standing by Raptors, ready to do what Lilia loves the best, which is take away the popcorn chicken.
It's an easy one. LNG, a little slow to respond in their own right. You're going to have Weiwei starting on his own Wolves. Now, he could go for a level 1 contest of the red buff, but because Lilia clears Raptor so quickly, you're not even really going to get towards red buff in time to contest it. Because she's cleared her first camp so quickly, went on to the second one very fast after that. So Weiwei is going to go clear his Wolves, look for his early level 3 as possible, and then try to see what else he can do across the map. Gala's kind of been left in a little bit of a lurch so far, and it has been Zucker who's been paired up with Hung on the other side of the map. You'd imagine that Ornn's going to hit level 3, teleport back up towards top side to catch that wave when it starts crashing in. Sharing XP is a lot better nowadays. You can see that Hung and Zucker both trying to get the most out of these first few waves, while Gala was looking to maybe just influence mid lane.
Okay, so invade comes off. There goes Rare Adam towards the top side. Xiaoxu is there trying to get a little bit of XP. Does actually get level 2 off the wave. They've left Jue to not have that. So it's interesting. They've actually given the top laner enough XP to hit level 2 before having to go to a lane by themselves.
Yeah, both of these top laners have done the same thing effectively. Because of the change of 118% shared experience between duo proximity to 124%, you can hit level 2 and level 3 earlier into the game than you could before, and you're expecting one of Xiaoxu or Hung to teleport to catch a wave on the other side of the map. And of course, the level 2 Cassandra can't survive this kind of state too. We're seeing what's happening on both sides. Neither of these top laners wants to teleport into that at level 2. Maybe at level 3 they can survive a dive and pick up some CS, but not in this one.
Fairness, I think for the side of LNG it would have to be Hung, right? Because Zucker's gone for the ghost, so there is no teleport.
Sorry, I meant, you know, when I said they're both top laners, Hung in this point, for this example, is the top laner.
Yeah.
Ignore what's saying on the actual position of the icons.
I was trying to be gentle. I was like, you know, I see the point, and you'd be absolutely right, but Vayne's running Ghost. Which obviously makes sense. Vayne with Ghost has become increasingly common. We have started to see a few more of those carry tops feel like they don't have to go teleport, which for a number of seasons just wasn't the case.
And now we have hit level 3 on Assume, level 3 on Hung, level 3 on Xiaoxu and Zucker. This is when we start to see the lanes sometimes normalize. Zucker's running back towards top lane. Hasn't used his Ghost to run back towards lane more quickly. I was wondering if that would be something to pick up some more CS up there. Zucker will be falling behind in a little bit of XP because of that. It might actually end up being even because the wave will... I don't think Xiaoxu is going to get like a wave up. I think the wave will just about even out there as well. So it's about even XP between top laners, about even XP between effective carries in the bot lane. The Varus technically paired up with the Ornn in that one, so they're about 3.5 on the levels as well. It means that RA do survive the level 1 of the Cassandra versus the Vayne, which can snowball out of control.
Would have been a pretty dire straits, but both top laners are now there, and it's delayed the matchup, but it's not necessarily entirely mitigated. It's just that level 1 that you called out saying it's just utterly unplayable.
Again, we had this riff like the other day, but it's the whole like dire straits, but it's in this case it's not money for nothing, it's XP for nothing at this point. I've been working on that for a while. I'm like, yeah, the problem is I actually don't know any other dire straits songs. That's the only one I know.
I think I might be in a similar position to you.
Like, I love a lot of classic rock. That band just never really crossed my radar, though.
I think it's in a similar space to me as someone like,
for me, it's Fleetwood Mac.
That was what I was getting. But I can only say the chain of one of their songs, not the name of the band. I can picture them by brain. They've got a few songs.
To me, like,
the
classic rock I listen to is like, well, obviously we listen to all the same stuff, like Deep Purple, loved AC/DC, loved Black Sabbath and Iron Maiden, and Led Zeppelin. Like, they were just slightly heavier. Because for me, like, Dire Straits is a bit more of that soft rock kind of angle. Yeah, I just never really managed to catch as much of their music. And we're getting through into the regular lanes now. We'll see where the Xiaoho and Wave can impact the map. But for now, just, I don't know, enjoy our takes on 70s and 80s rock.
The reason we bring up Fleetwood Mac as well is I remember yesterday I said you could mash up Dire Straits
and Sultan
to Swing solo with Go Your Own Way chorus.
Oh, that's the one, yeah.
Which is great fun. I did that at a friend of mine's wedding.
Wow, it turns out songs with like the same 4 chords can all be mashed together. Incredible. We are at the peak
We've
of
never done that as a pair of song players ever.
We've never done that one.
I feel song players. I should have just said musicians.
Song players.
Like, what is this newfangled contraption?
Excuse
for
me,
song player?
I will demand to be called Bard. I've earned this. I actually hate Bard as a champion. I must be called in real life, though, on the side. You know, that was
see
actually...
too much of yourself in him.
That gibbly ass looking support. That champion has been ruining my life for a long time, folks. It's not my favorite one.
Tell me how he hit you with ultimate in lane one time.
No, well, he did that when he was my teammate many times, Sam. It's one of the reasons why I'm not a big fan of him. Hung's actually had a really good all-in here. He doesn't have the level 6 just yet, but just switch over to the Ignite. There could be an all-in, and there's an all-in in mid lane.
Mind all of these musings about absolute random nothing.
There was the Ignite.
Bot lane down about 10% HP. The pots kept him high enough, but there's still a flash and another knock-up. And Hung, the support, murders his opposite number in the AD carry.
And what do we call that one? Of course, it's supportal combat. Switches over to the Ignite, gets the kill. Nothing happens in mid lane on the other side, and Hung draws first blood for LNG.
Beautiful moment there. And we saw that yesterday as well, remember? There was the Ezreal getting caught under tower, Doggo having a bad moment versus the Ornn. These supports have been putting times into the combos. I tell you now, Kerry has started the trend a year or so ago, and everyone else has finally caught up to Ornn as a support with Senna.
And now, with that kill towards bot side, it's not really led to anything that much. I mean, the Dragon was likely going over towards LNG anyway. The Lilia team tends to go towards Grubs because they take them so quickly, and then they go back to farming their own jungle. Or in this case, go towards farming the enemy red buff very, very quickly. So LNG, it's a nice extra bit of gold towards Hung, and he gets himself towards that level 6 before Assume as well. Maybe without the flash on the Varus, they can force a second play onto that one. Well, Gala, you know, we did mention that Senna kind of being left in the lurch around the lane swap can lose quite a lot of souls, has an amount right now, but really hasn't been sat in a lane farming towards souls so far, so we'll have to keep track of that one. This is the all-in towards bot side. Basically just doesn't flash the initial knockup, doesn't realize that the Ignite is there. Hung gets a load of auto attacks on target, and Assume has to flash away from the brittle auto attack that would have come out afterwards. But then, of course, can't escape long enough for the second round of cooldowns to come through. Hung just pops the Ignite, kills the Varus.
Well, turns out you look down the end of the tunnel, and the bright light coming away is just Ornn. It's just a freight train Ornn.
It's Sam, is that a reference to hit song by Metallica, No Leaf Clover?
Yeah, as debuted on the live album S&M from 1995, which they played live with the San Francisco Symphony Orchestra.
Which is, for the record, the best live album that anyone has ever done ever, and I'm not joking.
It's ridiculous.
Metallica playing with an orchestra is genuinely god tier, genuinely awesome.
I think especially because certain songs are just bad on record for Metallica, but great live.
Oh,
Memory Remains on that album, fantastic. On the OG album,
I also,
genuinely awful.
Even some of the songs which I love on studio as well, I prefer the way that they do them live too. So nothing else matters. I prefer on S&M. The solo's better. The solo's better. The extra space of it. Anyway, that's the whole thing. Like, the thing, folks, when it comes to LNG games, they don't do very much. So we get to talk about other stuff while they're not doing very much stuff. That's the formula I'm starting to find.
It's a Family Matters podcast, and we're not talking about the Kendrick song.
What? The thing is, I followed so much that drama, but still haven't heard the song itself.
What?
No, I've still not heard it.
Bro,
no,
they were pretty good.
Yeah, so I've heard. Yeah.
Drake's deleted a load of his like Insta posts and stuff about the stories. He's kind of like tacitly agreed he lost the fight by the looks of it.
Yeah, no, we're seeing less Drake than Tarzan on Weibo.
That was the most obscure league tie-in I've seen in a while.
Yeah, you know, he ended up doubling the amount of dragons he'd taken. Like, he had like a streak of like a load of months without taking a dragon because of how badly the T1 series went. He managed to take 2 in one game, and it was a moment of great rejoicing after that point. And yeah, so the grand story of the lane swap is actually even gold. Obviously, first kill over towards Hung. Xiaoho's coming towards top side. Zucker doesn't actually have that much of an advantage here, and that is to the bonus of Rare Atom. That is exactly the reason they went for the lane swap. They didn't want the Vayne to get huge value.
She's waiting for the glooming blows, and that means a lilting lullaby afterwards will roll away under the turret. Could still be in a lot of danger. Trying to play this one out, but all out, and it's a well-played gank. But the other side immediately responded and assumed dies. Teleport from Scout towards mid lane to clear the way afterwards. And LNG are swift with their own play.
So Assume still had no flash. I believe that's probably what ended up leading towards that kill there. But on the top side, Zucker, he was playing on the weak side and walked too close to a brush. I really think he needs to be careful with that positioning. The Vayne needs to be ahead of the game. Vayne top lane, we've seen enough of it and seen how it's been dealt with at MSI enough to know that this pick doesn't always bring you that dopamine of hitting a tank over and over. You do need to be ahead of the game. It's going to be first turret of the game going over towards LNG. On the other side, Scout, of course, he went back towards mid lane. Won't be able to defend both lanes, though, as top lane gets crashed into all the same. So the cross map, you know, even though it's even in kills and towers, I feel like because it's the Vayne that dies, I maybe favor it for RA. Losing the kill on Varus is not great, though. Varus is meant to be a large amount of the damage profile on this team. The fact that Assume has been killed twice in this early game, of course this is a follow-on from losing the flash in that earlier 1v1, that is really bad for Rare Atom.
And I think with the fact that Ornn with the spellbook can sit in mid lane and roam to whichever lane either the Talir or the Vayne is in, and then the Talir can roam theoretically to things like the Vayne. You can throw down a Senna ultimate. Your ability to make the Vayne 1v1 or not 1v1 very quickly can get pretty scary, especially now Gala has the level 6. Your sort of aerial support, your ability to call down orbital support from your destroyer up in the air, Helldiver style, it's pretty good right now.
You see, the thing is, I feel like it's a bit dated now, and it's kind of sad for me, as AD carry on going on the top side.
Ooh, that's a little good buster shot there. Zucker not really having space, trying to get the condemned, does so, but Xiaohao is here, and a swirl sealed splash off the minions brings down Zucker for a second time.
Oh, the condemn hits into the wall, but it's not enough. Vikla has the first item, Zucker doesn't, ends up winning the 1v1. We said that Vikla's Tristana has been really good in the past, in the end of spring. Vikla gave some really worrying games to a couple of teams that were higher up in the table purely because of this pick. Him getting that kill, I guess it's taken by Xiaohao, but it was the legwork done by that Yordle in the mid lane. Big moment for Rare Atom, and this Vayne has now been shut down pretty comprehensively.
And Vikla's a player that, at points, has had a lot of hype around him. He was on KT Roadster for a number of years, and obviously that's a team that has all the memes about disappointment you could name. But at their height, KT have been a really exciting, scary team with the likes of Vikla on them. And then he went over to FlyQuest, where for a while him and Prince looked like these absolute gods amongst men, and then again,
fell off quite
fell
hardly.
off the cliff. Yeah. And now over on Rare Atom, he has had similar experiences, honestly, where he's had moments where he looks fantastic and they can start doing things like this. He's not even going to need to be involved. They want to donate it, I think, but instead Xiaohao waits to allow the burn to go through a little bit more to get more damage before the lullaby is broken.
If you're going to talk about Vikla and his ups and downs, and yeah, he had some downs in spring as well. He had some of those great high moments too. Xiaohao, what a better player to kind of pair alongside that two at the same point. Vikla, one of those, he's going to escape for this. We can keep talking about Xiaohao. Of course, Xiaohao, one of the best players in the league. He was my vote for most elo-held player of 2023.
Oh, right.
2023, because he was on Anyone's Legend.
Right.
And he was doing really good stuff on that team, despite not being on a good team. And it really felt like him going onto Weibo just didn't find the style for him to mesh up with that team. I mean, Weibo in general struggled. So I'm going to say it, I don't think Xiaohao was the problem with that mid jungle. I think Xiaohu might have been a bit more the kind of concern on that one. But Xiaohao, I really don't want him to become this LPL kind of player, which has happened a lot before, where you have players which look good on low tier teams, go up towards a top tier one, not be able to reprise that performance, and then just kind of slump into mediocrity. I think that Xiaohao needs to have a good split on Rare Atom to recover some of that reputation.
In talking a little bit bigger picture while we've been musing and podcasting as well, I do think at this point now plates have fallen, we really ought to check in with some of the objective fronts, because LNG have traded 2 dragons for 6 grubs on the other side, and obviously 6 grubs with a double AD carry, and specifically a Tristana that's having a pretty good game so far could prove dangerous in terms of holding the structure. We saw this last game, remember, where the early gold lead with an AD carry mid getting a snowball proved very difficult to manage, but that was LNG who had that last time. They're going to have to mitigate it this time around. and they have tools for it at least.
But the problem is they don't really have that many tools to mitigate Zucker getting dunked on the side lane over and over. I think that this Vayne, because of the lane swap and the way that LNG have kind of failed to protect, well, Zucker has failed to protect himself on weak side multiple times now. I think this is going to lead to an increase of problems. I think that Xiaohao is getting to the point where he can 1v1 the Vayne. You know, the same level, has a good amount of items there too, has the Zhonya's. I think Xiaohao, his next fight with Flash and that Seekers could just blow open the game. LNG need to be really careful.
I suppose we've got a little moment here as well, because I'd love to kind of talk about that a bit more, because my initial read was that with the Senna ult and Ornn teleport, Ornel and Talia wall, it wouldn't be a Vayne 1v1 that much, and there might be a bit more ways to support them. But I'm guessing your take is actually you don't think that's going to be enough, or just not fast enough?
I think by the time Talia or Ornn has turned up to the play, your
Vayne
boy's
is dead.
your boy's dead.
Oh,
your boy's dead and buried. I think that Xiaohao, if he manages to hit the ult, it's not going to matter too much. They do have themselves a hook around the corner.
With global, good flash away. Keeps Scout alive, but that looked very dangerous for a moment. Remember yesterday, NIP doing that in that spot multiple times?
Yeah, that was a big one. Now, no flash on Jue, and they don't have the ult. Here's the counterpunch.
Gonna manage to get another couple flashes out. Now Xiaohao, there's a lot of Xiaos in this game, trying to play this one out. Hung a little bit too deep and goes down.
That was meant to be the counterpunch from LNG. That could have been the big fight. They just blew so many summoners and ults from Nymaera at him. But the double teleports from Assume and Vikla just about round things out. The gold lead will continue. The 6 grubs on tower will continue. Scout will come in using his ult to wave clear and maybe look for a pick. Only forces the flash out of Assume. Can't get the kill, but does defend the tower.
And RA don't die, but they blow every summoner that isn't Xiao Shoes. That's how what they need to do. But now
Scout.
the problem is, all those tools, all those flashes that kept people alive can start to do this. This is what Lilia allows you to do when you've got a bit of a siege comp. You can't just stand there, because sometimes you get hit by a swell shield and you just die.
Our biggest complaint about Rare Atom in game 1 is having zero early game plan against a team that just kind of smoothly slid into an advantage. It was Safari League of Legends. They were watching and they were spectating. Feels like this time they've had that plan in the early game to stop LNG just chilling. Chilling with the chillin' at the LNG. That's their like their mascot animal, by the way. It's on their logo. Sadly, looking slightly less than a Divine Beast in this one. Hung tries to go for the flash ult combo to kind of like change the timing, catch Xiaohao off guard, but you know, doesn't quite manage to get it. They don't catch out the Lilia. They would have had stopwatch anyway. Would have been unlikely to finish off that kill. And LNG, this was the one time they could have had a counter push, and they fail it.
Yeah, and messes up the W timing there a little bit as well. The Bellows breath times out, and then Xiao Shu goes, yeah, well, I'll just drag you through the wall. Goodbye. I saw you laughing, but you definitely saw me having to think about that one for a second.
No, I was laughing at some LNG fans in chat saying, we're about to lose to our Atom, aren't we, boys?
Shout out to LNG Scout is best. He's committed his namesake to it at this point.
Yeah.
As Wei decides, yeah, if I drive forwards here, I die, so decides against it. That is a decision that was actively made. It wasn't a choice to run it into there.
Weiwei's going forward. Assume no flash. There could be a pick.
Massive Dawning Shadow after as they bring down the Varus. Big moment. Wei gets healed. Vikla going forward, but has a flash immediately away. That was a bit bold. Looking to go forwards with Hung onto his own pillar. Can't quite land at the wall. To separate people out, and it's a man advantage for LNG.
And that the thing is, if they had the freaking Herald they had just before, they could have taken this turret. Xiaoshu's going forward again. He might just get forced out.
He doesn't have a W, not very tanky. The lilting lullaby can maybe come on for. Xiaoshu goes all out onto Wei, but he gets knocked away and survives. Vayne gets the kill, and now Xiaohao needs to run away. It's not a Xiao Wei, that's for sure. Needs to now maybe find a blast cone to get on out. Lily is still speedy enough to run.
And you've got Xiaohao, Xiaoshu, but Xiao, why did you go for that? It felt like they could have just given up that one kill onto Assume, played for the Lilia ult coming just beyond that point. They didn't have to look for the next round of it. They could have just defended their mid lane turret. They still had themselves a good gold advantage. Now giving over Soul Point and some extra gold over particularly to Zucker, who picks up 2 kills. This was the moment which LNG were waiting for. They failed their last counterpunch. I think Assume steps way too far forward. You have no right being there. Very poor missed position from the Varus for Rare Atom, and it's a quick cleanup. I think that Wei had a very, very clutch engage that ends up proving the distance. And at this point, you know, you're still in a 4v5. You're still in a 4v5, and it's okay. You have the HP advantage, but you can't just walk up there. Walking next to the wall for the Ornn and potentially a Condemned to come through onto Zucker, onto Xiaoshu. That's poor positioning there too. Just really feels like a missed position all over the place from Rare Atom.
And a reminder, the attempted counterpunch and that bot lane play where they blew all the flash, went, oh no, LNG go for the punch, they don't get anything. What they did get was every flash under the sun. And it's immediately punished in the mid lane a minute or so later, and that was what they needed to get themselves back into this game. Now they've got Soul Point, now they've got a bit more golden Zucker. If they have to, they could just give up a couple dragons and continue to scale this Vayne. Will hit a point where she gets terrifying, hung on this Ornn, will start giving over those ornaments. So you do hit the point where it gets increasingly difficult for RA to play the way they have been.
Yeah, now one of the things which is going to work in RA's favor is, you know, we talk about that extra scaling from the Ornn, giving the extra stats over. Have we talked about the Senna Souls in a while?
No, we have not.
So we talked about it in an early game. It's on 50 at 20 minutes.
Great.
That is an awfully low amount of souls. In lane swaps, we did say it can get a bit weird, and with LNG not really calling the lane swap, they're the ones responding to it. I think they struggle to put that into perspective. Scout caught with another ult. There's no cleanse for him. That's an ult.
Oh my days. Gets out though. They go quite deep. There's a big choke point for all of the knockups, all of the railguns. Tristana dead already. Nautilus dead already. They lose a jungler. Xiaoshu goes over the wall and avoids the seismic shove. He's now been on a blue trinket. Zucker finds a final hour and brings down the tank in the top lane.
Oh, Zucker just stands and delivers, uses that Q next to the wall to get the quick double tap auto reset on the Vayne Q, and shreds through the members who've been knocked up and CC'd by the rest of LNG. The Baron's gonna go down. The gold has swung much more into their favor than it was from that deficit before. I think this Baron will finally get them ahead of this game, and a few fights back to back, it has felt like RA have just completely misplayed. Teleport back in, might try and clean up some Baron snacks.
There was not a jungler there, so Xiao Hao was very close to getting raid for a smite there. But now they need to try and recall. Someone needs to get here. They're teleporting on it. I think Zucker will be a sacrificial lamb. Gets one out. They'll try and play out for somebody else. Xiao Hao actually has to go golden. Does survive 2 dead, but they do get 3 Barons.
Yes, 3 Barons. You can see who has the Baron buff by the purple border around their portrait on the left, on the right-hand side of the screen. At this point, Rare Atom, they do at least manage to clean up some, and they'll be able to get themselves an inner turret worth of gold as well. So the Baron power play will go to negative very briefly, but the fact that they've been losing these team fights back to back, and they've lost all of their flashes now for the next time to come through for this, is really concerning. Starts off with a good swell seed from Xiao Hao. That player, which we've been saying, needs to have that reputation building, repairing split. Starts things off well, but the reset into the choke point is absolutely disgusting. You called it out. The railgun's free firing. Zucker is free firing. You see that multiple times in this fight. He ends up getting himself, you know, that cue to roll forward or just reset against the wall at the end as well. Manages to get that cleanup. I think that Rare Atom are very lucky to get away with not even just a full team ace there.
And there was a world where if that wall had been a secondary or Asum's flash was less good to get over the wall, you lose the Varus as well, and you know, from that point, who knows? There's that gold graph beginning to dip precipitously.
Shit.
As we're at, and we're in a great spot, not so long ago.
I also think now there's going to be the point where, I mean, there's only 1 tower taken from LNG, there's 5 from Rare Atom, but the gold difference isn't insane. I think LNG will be able to use the rest of the standing towers to come to even a gold advantage, potentially, with their next round of cooldowns and the next big team fight. They can't push in all lanes at once with the Baron buff. Again, they only have the 3 people with it, and Zucker or Scout, who would be on a side lane, don't have that right now.
I'll note that we have got a second item for Zucker, which is huge. Got that rage bait, but the problem is the death cap not done from Scout. Second item, if you don't count the blood razor, not done from Gala. That could prove to be a little bit concerning if they want to play for this soul.
LNG, they're just going to keep that mid lane pressure up. I think they just want Rare Atom to group again. LNG have been winning in the grouped up fights. I think that Hung has had a fantastic Ornn game so far. I think that Weiwei on the Shinsao, similarly in the team fights, been doing really fantastic work. The swell seed lands onto 2, it splashes.
Maybe think about popping it, but it would have been on the front line and maybe not the juiciest targets. They decide against it instead. Fight their way through the Baron shove. That swell seed just about split apart from. Into the strike, only unfortunately finds a split. Over towards the dragon we go. Cloud Soul could be pretty good for this team, particularly a Vayne.
Another swell seed lands, times it out, applies it again.
Still is alive, Zucker burned, but not down. Wall comes across. They really want this dragon.
Xiao Hao has been doing some insane work with these swell seeds. Even though that ultimate doesn't lead to a follow-up, it buys the wall. The dragon's going down. This will be soul for LNG, and it's RA on the dragon.
They decide to pull away. They don't have the item completions. Just back away. Buy yourself a bit more time.
Bluntly, skill shot accuracy wins that fight for Rare Atom. It's not going to lead to any kills, but it does lead to the dragon and a delaying of the soul and a delaying of the rest of at the end of that Baron buff coming through from LNG. They don't really get anything from it, which could have been the game-breaking moment. Honest to God, it is just on Xiaohao hitting Swell Seeds.
And this Lilia, a champion that has been, I think, a mixed success, it is fair to say. As you can see it coming up on screen there a little bit. Now at 2 items, 6 Dark Seal Size, 403. This is a stellar game from Xiaohao.
I sadly pointed at the screen just as it disappeared. Minus 1,200 Baron.
Oh, right. That's I thought it was Lilia.
Sam was midway through, so I was like, look, I'm just going to point him towards the, the giant deficit, which, the deficit which has just been grown even more somehow with that Baron.
Minus 1,000 to see that at least.
But yes, I mean, the items are also important. We can check in on the rest of them if you want. I saw this earlier. Xiaoshu's gone for the Zeke's Convergence for all-in damage, I guess. I don't know who he's linked it to. But when you ult, of course, you get the extra kind of burn around you, which is kind of fun. There's decent tank stats on the other side of it.
Maybe? Lilia?
No, you'd probably put that onto one of your AD carries that'll actually be auto-attacking.
Yeah,
just saying that. I'm not sure that Nautilus or Lilia is going to be...
The reason is I barely see Zeke's anymore. My memory was what it did is it activated when 2 people used ults.
Yeah, so Xiaoshu when he uses ults, but then the person you tie it to gets extra kind of like bonuses to its damage. Garlic, what Xiaohao is continually knocking these, doing a really good job. And again, we've had some talks about what builds Lilia should be going towards themselves. Having that Leandris instead of the Blackfire. I feel like at this point, once you get past that early game, Leandris just continues to outvalue the Blackfire the later into the game that you go. On the other side, though, finally Scout has himself that death cap, which is really important. You called it out before the last fight, saying, well, not having death cap, kind of important for LNG. We are getting towards the point, though. Beyond this, we're starting to get those Baroned up items from Ornn as well. The Masterwork items will add about an extra 1,000 gold per item.
Okay, so... see exactly where that Zeke's went. And the other thing is it's a very cheap item, only 2,200 gold, so when you're needing gold now to start playing, especially as people like the Vayne begin to get scarier and scarier.
So, Death Cap upgraded for Scout as the first ornament item as well, because it only gives you AP, it just gives you more damage. No messing around with other stats, none of this getting some random bits of HP or ability Ace which you don't necessarily care for. The one shot from Scout could be game-changing now with that 2-item spike. Serap's Death Cap, very, very high AP for a 2-item. Even though he's behind 2,000 gold, you add on some extra value from that Ornn item, and it's not nearly the same kind of deficit. Scout could be, again, the big player in this next fight. It was the MVP from game 1, and once again, LNG return to the mid lane. Baron is available, and we have ourselves a bit of an ARM. Hung pulls the ult.
Try and find the play, gets it onto Assume again. This Varus has not been able to play the game. Cleanse from Hung. Did have the spell books to pull that one out. Nothing really outside of a cleanse burn there, though, with that attempted pick.
So Hung uses that cleanse. It's going to be straight onto the Baron. No Ornn ult to force the fight this time. Where else will LNG find their engage? They're walking up yet again.
Try and find something. The Turning Shadow comes across, Assume taking a half HP. Wei goes forward, Wei have to flash into the pit. The Baron is still doing the Lord's work for LNG. Tries to hit the backline, does Cassante flash on forward for Xiaohao. Damage back, so Scout somehow to the backline. Buster shot away from Zucker, who went to look for the kill and dies for it. Both Solon is dead for LNG.
The burn still ticking on Hung. Should be running forward with those Qs stacking up time after time. Xiaohao so much movement speed. Maybe with the flash away they'll make it out. Gala trying to turn back some damage. RA, they're looking for the end of the game.
They are going to run down the mid lane with the wave. They've got every member alive. I think we're going to game 3.
I think we are too. Even though Xiaohao couldn't quite get the game-changing ult in the fight, the damage was done. LNG fell too far behind themselves this time. A difference of early games leads to a difference of results. Rare Atom walking towards the base.
It looked like LNG had found their way back into the game. A Baron, a fight, and a moment of light. But Rare Atom finally find what they were looking for, what their early game decreed they should get, which is a game to win. We're going again.
And honestly, it feels like the teams which have lost have been the ones which couldn't find a good early game response. In game 1, Rare Atom, they just let LNG run over the map for the grand majority of that